I think as society progresses and the perception changes, I think women will they start to feel a little bit more inclined to be able to be themselves as well and realize that these are a pathway that they want to choose as well. We've had literally around 250 or more in the last 7 months come through to our Busy Sisters platform looking for apprenticeships and traineeships. And I dare say that will increase. And that's across the nation as well. So the attraction piece is definitely there.
Well, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good ever what time of day it happens to be that you are listening to the Tattooed Teacher podcast. On this episode, I have Tenille Reilly. Now, Tenille works for the Busy Group, and as you may have heard, I have a partnership with the Busy Group at the moment, but you'll hear more about that later. But Tenille currently is the Women in Trades Manager at Busy at Work, working in the apprenticeship community. She is also on the National Association of Women in Construction Australia. Tenille, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Phil.
Hey, it's great. It's great to chat. And it's great to chat with more people from Busy because, you know, I'm not a Gold Coast local. I've moved up here 10 years ago. But to see what Busy have been doing over the last almost 50 years, you know, starting off as a little community group in Southport, looking out for the youth, to what they are today, it must feel pretty good working in a company such as that, a not-for-profit such as that.
For me, like, my passion's always aligned with helping. I love working in business and working for not-for-profits that kind of have a purpose. And it's not just making money for stakeholders and making them rich in their pocket. We get to give back to people. And I think, you know, even organizations in this space when they're profit for purpose, that goes back into helping people, making a difference. And that really aligns to my values. So I think for the first time ever, I've really felt at home. Does that make sense? I don't know if that feeling kind of resonates, but, you know, being at home, and I think I mentioned this before, like, finding your people is really, really important to me. And that's like something that I highly prioritize, because to be able to be authentic and truly yourself, I think is like so healthy and powerful. And yeah, so it's really nice to find an organization where I get to lead, and you get freedom and a bit of autonomy to also be innovative and think of different ways that you can make an impact in your space. So yeah, I feel very lucky to kind of work here and get to really create our women's space and be able to create an impact. So, and they're always very supportive.
Yeah, because like with the Busy Group, I mean, most of the people who would regularly listen to my podcast would know Busy Schools.
Yeah.
But you are in sort of a separate arm to that as Busy at Work. Are you finding that there's more and more of a need for organizations such as who you work with?
100%. I think it's very, very clear. And if you're someone that I will stalk social media, because you get to see what people we have and what generation we have coming through. And, you know, I love to people watch, like, a lot. So not in a creepy way, I promise. But it's very clear that we have a different generation coming through. And if the world doesn't change and we don't have organizations like what we do to the heart and soul with our Busy Schools, capturing youth that don't kind of fit mainstream and traditional models, it can actually be quite detrimental. I even look at my son, and, you know, I've got him in a traditional school at the moment. I know for a fact 100 million% he would thrive and feel more empowered and treated more like an equal in Busy Schools, I think, than the environment that he's currently in. Environment plays a huge part in people's success. So yeah, you know, I'm not a fan of that system personally, and I observe my child and I try and make sure that I protect him as much as possible with his confidence, and don't let that affect his, you know, thoughts about himself and what he can achieve, because he's a very intelligent child. So we all have different skill sets. So yeah, massive need for what we do, and I think that reflects in our growth as well.
Yeah, schools they're an interesting place, and I mean, coming from my perspective as a teenage ratbag, school wasn't for me, but there was no other options. I wish there were the options like you know, the Busy Schools.
Yeah.
The other you know, I think the three ones that I can think of, especially here on the Gold Coast, are Busy Schools first and foremost. The newest one is the Men of Business, and also the what are they up to now? I think they're called the Industry School now. That had a whole number of
they definitely capture different demographics. Sorry.
Yeah, most definitely. And it just shows how much diversification is actually needed within the vocational educational space.
Education is really important, and it also can determine someone's mental well-being and thoughts about themselves, and it dictates a lot. Like, you think at school they spend more hours at school than they do at home, so you think they're going to be more heavily influenced in their school environment than they are probably at home, because half the time at home they're asleep or hiding in their room. So, as now I have a teenager and can see what he's like. So, but I think also being educated like myself and seeing what we have in our schools makes me more aware, like, on how like a traditional model can actually affect the way and the confidence in an individual. Like, my son is so bright, creative, innovative, and such a different sort of thinker. But, their grading and their school model is so depleting. Like, it really can make people feel like they're not intelligent. But when there's, and don't hold me to this, like, I haven't researched, but apparently there's around 19 different types of intelligence, and that is not factored in to school education at all. So yeah, and that takes years to undo for an adult as well, to undo the damage that can have if they're not empowered and developing and understanding where their natural skill sets are.
Yeah, and I think and also, like, it comes down to being heard in your particular environment. Like, I've said to so many of my students over the years, there are issues that I have gotten from high school and bad habits that I built in high school that I'm actually still sort of suffering consequences from now. I'm more aware, but high school has an impact whether you want to believe it or not. And in a whole range of things. And sometimes you don't even realize until you are much older, where you go, hold on, that's not what I wanted to do. That's not how I felt. And then it comes up in any range of issues, or it just happens. You're having a conversation, and all of a sudden you go, oh crap, like that's right. I wasn't taken into account the way I learned.
Yeah, and also learning styles. Like, I try to educate even our team, like, even understanding my staff's learning styles, kinesthetic, auditory, visual learners. How I, deliver something may not sink through to everyone based on their learning style, but also practical learners. I've read the assignment, the English assignment, even I'm like, Jesus, how the hell? I can't even write that for my 13-year-old son. So I've had to throw it. I throw it into ChatGPT or Copilot, and I ask it, I want to recreate this in a way that it's geared at more of a practice. I want to break it down into easy steps so that, if he feels overwhelmed, that he can break it down into little brackets that can help him, chip away at it. And it's like, the way I rewrote the assignment, I sent it to the English teacher and I was like, this makes more sense to my son. And if you broke it down in this way, this would actually help him feel like he actually can do the task. Because reading that, I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't understand how to write that either. Like, it's just not written in a way to set them up for success, which is really frustrating, because you see them go, oh, I'm not very bright, or you get a D, and I think that is such a depleting. Like, there's psychology around that. I feel strongly. I think the school system should change their schooling to. I don't know if you know about Carol Dweck. She wrote The Power of Yet, and she did a TED talk on it. Do you know?
Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah.
Yeah, and they actually did an experiment in schools where they changed the grading. So a D was actually written as not yet. And what that cultivates is actually a growth mindset. So it tells them, I'm just not there yet, which I think that's 10 times more powerful. While a D is literally like, it feels final. And I just think, yeah, we should really rewrite how it's like the change of psychology. And I think this day and age, even reframing for us and our team KPIs to LPIs, like, I've reframed that to lives positively impacted, because our numbers that we see on our screen is literally another life that we impact in our role. So, there's a lot of, I think things need to shift, and the style, things need to change. Sorry, I go off topic a little bit.
No, it's great, because I mean, like, most of our people are, they're in high school or, tertiary education, and you're in another arm of that. So, like, you're not directly in a classroom, but you are education adjacent. So you're seeing the real impacts, and you're having to, in a way, triage the injuries that these kids have suffered for any number of reasons within school, or even their outside life that has impacted their schooling, which then impacts them moving into their next level of succce.
Yeah,
so you truly see what happens.
Yeah. And without support, how is someone meant to, like, thrive? I admit this firsthand. I thought, when I first stepped in as a manager, I thought, oh, I'm fine, I don't need help, and I'm a single full-time mum. But I've realised, and I've learned through experience, support is necessary for me to to also do well. And it's the same for students. And I think our schools do a really great job in making sure those individuals get the right support. And I think the proof is in the pudding, like the way that they turn grades around for individuals and you see them have build confidence in themselves, like that is really powerful. And I think that's awesome. So I would definitely envision a lot more growth in our schools and maybe even one day they being like a primary school option. Who knows?
Yeah, because I mean, the busy schools, for those who don't know, are schools that focused on the disengaged and disenfranchised youth. So for any number of reasons, these kids have had a rough start. They've whether they're living rough, living out of home, living in foster, whatever it might be, the busy school caters for them because they have got that much going on in their lives. They can't cope in a mainstream school for anything,
Yeah,
for any number of reasons. So at the moment, it's just for senior years, so year 11 and 12
for now.
for now.
For now.
So are you seeing, or is the busy group in general, and I think Paul Miles touched on this a little bit, but you're seeing more of a need for the younger students. There's more and more disengaged younger years, and it's trying to capture them to get them back on the right track so that they don't have to live through some of the consequences of if, that they have to live through as such.
Yeah. It might build resilience if they can push through it, but we're in a world where psychosocial safety is really prevalent. Mental health is more prevalent than ever. And I think there is, I think once upon a time, I was able to capture some data from someone in the government school location, and the attrition rates of the year levels were significantly high. And I could never fathom or understand why they weren't implementing school-based apprenticeships or other platforms, because that was like really, really increasingly high. And I thought that's just alarm bells for me. Wouldn't you look at that as, why are they dropping out? Why? Like, find out. So I think, and a lot of them also, like my child, he would like thrive in that space because you get treated like a human being, you get treated like an equal. And I think that just comes down to mutual respect, not as if I'm over you because I'm your teacher speaking down to you. He would respond. He's very mature. I speak about my son because I think he would definitely thrive in this environment. He doesn't know it yet, but he would. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, most of my teaching career has been with boys' education, and at about that year 9, year 10 level, there's a huge amount of disengagement. And like I've worked at both selective schools and non-selective schools, and it's the same thing because teenagers are teenagers. Some have more opportunities than others, some don't, but they're still teenagers. They still go through the same things. They're still having identity issues and girlfriend boyfriend issues. They're trying to work out who they are, where they fit, what they want to do. And so there's that drop off, which would correlate to the data that you have been able to get. But it's also part of what I did. One of the things that I did as a teacher was like not try and keep them fully engaged, but not allow them to completely disengage. Like find what they actually enjoyed doing and really like honed in on that. So there was at least one good thing that they had to come to school for.
Yeah. And I don't think that maybe their classrooms are too big too. They don't really understand the individual as well, like on how they succeed. It's just literally one approach because, yeah, I find it, yeah, it'll shift at some stage. I think the generation's changed. You got a lot of neurodivergent, neurospicy people coming through. I definitely feel like I fit on that spectrum, but yeah, and I think it's going to become a lot more common that busy schools will definitely grow and increase, and you can already see the need. It's just a matter of us, continuing that fight to get them across the nation, essentially, now that we're around the world as too, which is really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I really wish I had had the opportunities like trade schools, such as busy, when I was a teenager, because I was one of those kids who just go, I don't want to be in school. I want to be building stuff. I want to be doing stuff. I want to, you just want to get out there and do and just experience. And I think maybe, I went and did it. Like my background is trade. So I did high school as a social experiment and went straight into a trade and did very well at my trade. And did that for a while. And it wasn't until later I've gone, okay, I've got sort of two options. I can either start my own business, but in engineering, it's a little bit trickier to get a factory and all the machinery and everything that you need to start your own business, or I'll go to university. So I went and did design and looked at a whole range of things from there. But it's just an amazing opportunity the, that society is seeing that there's a need greater than school for young people. And there's, especially in a country like Australia, where we're a primary industry country. But with your position, because I mean, most people think it's just the boys who are troublemakers. It's just the boys who are disengaged. It's just the boys who need to go and do a trade. But there are so many young women out there and teenage girls who are going, I want to be a mechanic. I want to be a carpenter. I want to be a landscaper. I want to be an electrician, whatever it might be, that are not the stereotypical female trades, the barber or the hairdresser or, the beautician, things like that. It's like they're going, no, I'm going to mix it up because that's what I want to do. So how are you finding or the disengagement? Is it like a 50-50 split, or is it, how does it go with the clients that you see at Busy at Work?
We've seen a massive increase in female interest in trades, not only in youth, and I think also that's got to do with all organizations are now visually changing their marketing. They're all like changing their approach, and now females can see, oh, this is an option. Some people look at what's in front of them, unfortunately. And we've also seen a massive increase even in mature age women as well, because for them, when they were at school, trades weren't put in front of them. And for me, I got pushed into hairdressing. It was the only trade option. I hated it. I could not stand working in an all-female environment. I think it was just toxic. And, this is where diversity is really important. If I'm being honest, I left that after a year. It wasn't for me, but it was hands-on and practical. So had I had the option back then, I think I would have thrived in a trade if that was put in front of me, which it was not. And I'm 37 next month. So I don't feel like that was that long ago, but that long ago, trades were not put as an option for us as females at all. But we have seen a massive increase in female interest in wanting to get into trades. So I dare say even the schools do pretty well. Like we get a lot of interest and work with our busy schools across multiple locations about getting into apprenticeships. So there's definitely a massive interest from women. I think the difference is, right, with getting disengaged youth at high school. And I go back to the old saying, good girl, like there was a conditioning within that. And I think women are typically more inclined to mask a lot better than boys as well. So, I think as society progresses and the perception changes, I think women will feel, they start to feel a little bit more inclined to be able to be themselves as well and realize that these are a pathway that they want to choose as well. So, yeah, we've had literally around 250 or more in the last 7 months come through to our Busy Sisters platform looking for apprenticeships and traineeships. And I dare say that will increase. And that's across the nation as well. So the attraction piece is definitely there. So females will fit that bill.
Yeah. Do you think it has something to do with, and you sort of touched on it, like a societal shift where they have a voice now, and that they can, not the the 1960s women's liberation type of thing, but this is like this is what I really want to do, and I think I can succeed, and I've got all the skills, and I can see a pathway through it. So do you think that they're finally being listened to? Do you think that's probably a key thing?
Yeah. Look, I think industry's culture has a little bit further to go, because if you're looking at a national average around 96 or so percent, just under, are men still in industry, like on a national average across all what we would deem as non-traditional trade pathways. So obviously there's a lot coming to us at Busy Sisters because we are a safe option. So I can track that data on that. But there's been I think it's starting to become the norm for the girls to pick that as a pathway. Some of your private schools, we definitely still have a few more struggles with, parental and school liaison influence, because they definitely still push them down that university pathway, which is crazy. I think that will change. I envision for the future that trades will become the most popular look and university might drip off. I'm throwing it out there now. I envision maybe that unis will start to lose money and morph with TAFEs and RTOs. They may form schooling. I don't know. That's my thoughts on that for the future. And I think university degrees have kind of lost their validity unless there's particular skill sets that it's quite niche that you really need to, like to be an accountant or to be a surgeon or to be a doctor. I dare say trades will become more popular, and with AI and digital transformation and all that coming through, I envision trades to be quite popular, and even like the rest of the world will start to realize, and they'll probably increase their value, I would dare say, where some people see them as, oh, you're the lower end here, oh, you're the naughty kid, just go into a trade. I think that will shift, and we have a lot of really intelligent women that are stepping into and going, I don't want to do, they're very capable of doing we've got some that come from criminology and are now in bricklaying, and that's her chosen choice. And now she's running her own bricklaying gang. So, we need all walks of life in this space to create change. So I think there's a lot of people, and women in particular, stepping outside the norm going, nah, that's just not for me. I'm not happy. I'd rather be outside doing the work. And yeah, sorry, I go like way off center there.
No, it's great because you're in the coalface of what these, not only young women but some older women as well, who are going, I want to go into a trade. But what I love is that you said that you also create that safe space for them to move into, because unfortunately there are a lot of people out there, a lot of work sites, and I've been on a few of them in factories where I've been in, and it's not, my daughter's 25, but it's not a place that I ever want to send her to go to, because it's like, well, I don't want you exposed to that. You should, as a person, you shouldn't have to be exposed to that. I mean, she became a parole officer, so she chose to
in that place.
Yeah, so she went down that path anyway. But again, it was that you create a safe space. So how do you do that, or how does the Busy Group do that for these women?
So part of our model is making sure, and for me, I'm very big on proactive support, not reactive. And I think previously, and no detriment to the government, but it has been a bit of a reactive response. And personally, I think that it's really hard to turn something around once the issue has festered and gotten that bad, if I'm being brutally honest. And what happens from there is that individual that was really passionate starts to turn off that industry. And then they get really negative thoughts about, it's just this industry, these people, because that's all they were exposed to. So for me, it's like we really want to create a proactive mentoring model where we try to identify. It's like going on a date. You want to identify just through a conversation some red flags.
Yep.
Sometimes us women ignore them, but we teach our team we don't ignore them. We kind of utilize those as an opportunity to go, okay, I can see a red flag just through a conversation. And that's where we go, right, I'm going to put them through into some coaching and mentoring on that. And I'm actually going to prepare them and build and develop some life skills in that individual, because life is going to get tough. Things are going to happen regardless of whether we're there or not, but we will always be there to support them. We just want to make sure they've got the right tools in their belt to succeed. And whether that's, providing them some coaching and development around difficult conversations. Crazy 2026, like males and females don't know how to talk to each other. What? We've been at it for thousands of years, man. It's crazy, but we really struggle in this environment. They don't know how to converse. So, and I know this as a very passionate female who would just, and I've had to learn to really rein back some of that aspect as well, and take the emotion out sometimes to really get a better outcome. So I can relate and understand for some of these women. So we try and develop them with some life skills and prepare them, but also hopefully that will flow onto not only their professional but their personal life as well, which is really, really important too. So we provide leadership coaching as well, because what we like to identify, it's not just issues. We actually really want to develop some really great leaders in industry. And for us, I have a big vision of having more women running their own small business in trades. So, that's a big focus for us. We run free workshops, like development workshops on business readiness. I've got a team of people. Some have backgrounds in like behavioral science and psych science with their in careers and occupations. Some come from the tools. They've got various skill sets. So, it's to help make sure that our long-term vision is not only getting them through like their apprenticeship, but I want these women to see where beyond, because otherwise they'll leave. So if we don't start planting that seed and providing the goal setting and coaching development to where to next, it's just like an endless funnel. And yeah, so that's kind of the work that we do. And we try and make sure that we're there from the very, very beginning so that, no matter what happens, they've got us there, and hopefully we can mitigate anything that kind of pops up. And we have increased massively on our retention rates for the first 12 months, which is significant growth. And that's captured through the data that we look at. So it is working. And I'm really confident that at some stage over the next coming years, we'll see a massive increase in that percentage of women across the nation. So, yeah.
Yeah. So with that increase and the women that you work with, are they coming to you after they finish school, or are you working directly with them when in their high school years, with the busy students, or how does the relationship work there?
We do a bit of it all. I think we're like a really big end-to-end kind of support system, if I'm being honest, as our specialist program. So we get in, we do career talks in schools, we attract the females, we do work with them, preparing them, and we try and place them with. Our biggest focus for me, is quality, not quantity. I'm very, very big on that. And I think if we have an integral model, I think that's our best marketing tool, is word of mouth around what we do with and quality. So we try and pre-vet as best as possible with employers on who we can place that person with as well, to make sure that we can try and set them up for success. Worst case scenario, we make sure I've got a person in our team that does more the business coaching with employers, because that culture piece is really important. So she kind of takes the lead on that. So we wanted to make sure we had like wraparound support. I'm very big on like holistic support, if I'm being honest, not just a Band-Aid being chucked on. So we try and make sure that if we're mentoring and coaching that apprentice, if we're placing them, we'll make sure that the female in our team that does all the business coaching side, she gets in with that employer, and that's up to her to be strategic about how she can coach them. But we think if we can best support and empower those employers as well, like that'll flow on to them going, I've felt more confident having a female, I'll have more. Because if they have a bad experience because they're not educated and empowered, they're going to turn away and go, nah, don't want a female, won't have another one. And they'll just throw their hands up in the air. So we want to make sure that we can set them, both parties, up for success, with the right tools in their belt as well. So it's not just the apprentice, but we also support the business, because small business is our bread and butter, who takes on apprentices at the end of the day. And they also need some coaching and guidance, because they don't have a HR team or a big organisation like ours or someone managing going, are you okay? Is your mental health all right today? Yeah, so we try and be supportive of both.
Yeah, because I guess it comes down to education, in the sense of you're showing your apprentices, this is how you deserve to be treated. This is how you should treat others. These are not only your rights, but these are your responsibilities when you're in the workplace. And in the same, on the flip of the coin, your employers to go, hey, you may have had a bad experience. You may have heard old mate down the road, or you're at the pub and you're having a beer with Billy, and he's gone, nah, never get a chick. They're just a waste of time. Or, all those things. You got to go, no, hey, here's what it is. This is how it works. This is what, this young person is going to come in and work their butt off, because this is what they want to do. But these are what you have to do to make sure she can be as successful as you. She wants to start a small business. You've got one, so show her how it's done. And so that's that wraparound education that you're talking about?
Yeah, because I'm a big believer too, like just as much as it's a new experience for the apprentice, it's also a new experience for that employer who's never had a female before. And as much as they might communicate at home quite confidently with their partner, that's a different environment. This is work. There are actually a lot of really great employers out there. Like, to be brutally honest, I think some of them are just worried about doing the wrong thing. So, we want to make sure within our team, very small resource, but very mighty. But we have particular roles within our team that we can strategically make sure that we can balance both ends, and hopefully that will still have like a positive domino effect in future as well. So, and communication is probably the biggest thing that we come across, and that's usually due to a lack of education and understanding, or emotional intelligence and empathy, and perspective is another thing as well. So we kind of want to be that neutral third party that can help guide people and help educate along the way.
Yeah. So with that, educating their employees, because I know, just with some of the places that I've worked, some of the people that I talk to, that even like taking on an apprentice is a big risk.
Yeah.
Because you're paying someone often that's going to cause you more work, because they're learning. And that's just, I'm speaking from experience. I was an apprentice, so I made plenty of mistakes and lost plenty of money for my boss in the mistakes that I made, but they were still willing to take that. But with bringing these people in and into the fold to go, hey, here's an apprentice, and then they work out really well. Do you find you get repeat clients? You go, hey, can I get another? I need another one. She's she's running,
She's a
so
gun.
I need a new one. So
Yeah. And that's why I take pride in making sure we're about quality, not quantity. And if anything, to win and trust people, like for them to build trust in you, they want to know that you're here to support them and do the right thing by them as well. And I'm a big believer that that recruitment piece plays a big part for us, because we can get to know. There are some females, just because you're a female doesn't give you right of rein. You may not really be gelled or find this may not be really what you're looking for. So we kind of pre-vet them as well to make sure. And then also personally matching. So if we have the Justine in our team who leads the employer space, she gets to know them. She knows the environment. She knows what they're like. Cool. We can do a bit of personality matching as best as we can. We're not like perfect, FYI. But also, like, the aim is to make sure that for those first 12 months, we can do enough educating, supporting, and for anything that they might come across, it's completely neutral. It's completely non-judgmental. I think for people to come on the journey of change, they have to be vulnerable and they have to be able to trust you and know that this is a safe space, essentially. So, yeah, that's a big part of our model moving forward, is trying to address all those barriers, and hopefully that will have a flow and effect over the years.
This episode is proudly supported by the Busy School. Educators know better than anyone there's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to learning, and for some young people, the right environment can make all the difference. The Busy School supports Year 11 and 12 students who have disengaged from mainstream education, smaller classes, individual support, practical learning, and real pathways to work or further study. There are no fees, with uniforms, supplies, and meals included. That helps remove barriers so students can focus on building confidence, reconnecting with learning, and taking their next step. The Busy School is part of the Busy Group, a not-for-profit with almost 50 years experience supporting people through education, employment, and training. Find a campus near you at busyschools.qld.edu.au.
yeah, addressing the barriers is a big thing. Just earlier you mentioned, you're working with various schools, especially some of the private schools and independent schools, and that's a hard sell to get the parents to go, or to get them to understand that an apprenticeship is a viable option and a very successful one, and it can lead to so many more things long term. It gives them a tremendous amount of social skills, intrapersonal skills, resilience. But I'm all about trades. If a kid says to me, hey, sir, I want to do an apprenticeship, good, what do you want to do it in? How can I help? It's, yeah, but I've got to leave school. And you've got to talk to your parents first. Like, they've got to get on board. But then people will think I'm a dropout. And I said, no, you're not dropping out. A dropout is a kid who leaves school, sits on the couch, plays Xbox, and eats 2 minute noodles and does nothing. That's a dropout. What you're doing as an apprentice, you're leaving school. You're going to work hard. You're going to sleep well definitely for the first year, because your body's not going to know what hit it. But you are building skills that you could never learn in a classroom.
So, I was just going to say, on transferable skills, I've hired various different trades in my team. And one thing I love to like observe like what skills they come with, because I'm like always very curious, because there's always something transferable from their pathways. I've noticed with the ex-chefs that I have, super rigid with their processes, getting tasks done, following a procedure, getting things in place. And I was like, I've observed through all of them, they always follow through with their task and just get everything done, where I'm like a bit chaos. So maybe a bit ADHD that, starts about 18 different tasks and doesn't complete all of them. And so there is, I love to observe like the different tradies that come into our team, because I'm like always intrigued by what they've learned and what that's really ingrained in them as well, because that is an amazing transferable skill. And also they build a lot of resilience, because I can tell you now they're very rough in those kitchens. So
Oh yeah,
Stories I've heard. Yeah.
yeah. No, I've worked in a few kitchens over the years, as you know, put myself through uni working as a bar manager and things like that, and working in big stadiums. As the head barman, you deal with the chef quite a bit, and yeah, they want it done and they want it done their way, and yes, they can be quite prickly at times, but again, it's those personality traits that sometimes put people off are the exact traits that are needed to be successful in that area.
Yeah. Yeah. Builds a lot
And
of
and I think
resilience.
that's yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the things that I've heard and that I was called, and that's unfortunately that's life. Like it's not acceptable, and
No.
thankfully things are changing for the better all the time, and people are actually seeing the impact of these negative behaviours on young people. But to a certain extent, there's a job to be done, and so whereas at school, you don't hand an assignment in. It's like, oh, you just bring it in tomorrow. You'll be all right. It's okay. It's like you don't finish a task at work. They're like, you're costing me money. Like,
Yeah.
get it done. I told you to do it. You were responsible to do it. And now you've caused someone else to have to do more work because of your mistake. And so all of a sudden, you
Teamwork.
know, they, yeah, they're understanding that their actions or inactions actually have real life, that real world consequences. I hate
That's a
saying
good
real
way to
life
put
because,
it. Yeah. Otherwise, at school, it's just about their individual self, really.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you can get through, you can float through, which is a great thing about school. Like, it's the place in your life where you're going to have the least amount of responsibility, um, and be able to learn how to fail and learn how to hopefully build some resilience. But I think it comes down to how that interaction happens with the teachers, and like you're saying, how that interaction happens with your clients and the apprentices.
Even for us in our mentoring space as a whole, I'm really focusing at the moment on creating our mentoring workshops for apprentices to all be just exercise based. I don't want to tell them what to think. I don't want to tell them what to do. I want them to be exercise based where we can actually challenge them to start thinking, and they have reflection questions to reflect themselves so they can come up with the answers themselves. So, and I find that that is where we're kind of moving with our model, even in our mentoring for apprentices. I just find most of them typically, predominantly, would be more kind of static visual learners. And you look at apparently in schooling, I mean, I don't remember anything that I learned at school. Nothing. Like
Me either.
I feel like an idiot when I get my son's assignments, and he even knows. He's like, "Why would I come to you? You don't even know the answers." And I'm like, "You're not wrong, because I forget all of it. I just never really cared. I could do it if I really wanted to, but I just really wasn't interested either myself. If I'm being honest, sitting in the classroom. Had you had me outdoors doing something where I was learning, like in life, I think I would have retained some of that information. That's why apprenticeships are really important, and that's where even busy schools will deliver their learning modules different in a way that speaks to these people. Everyone is curious. I think every human being on the face of this earth, who isn't curious and wants to learn? It's just we're not meeting their needs on their learning style. So, I think, yeah.
Yeah, they school for me. I've said it to a number of people, and I said to a lot of people, school is there. Like, you don't remember any content or very little of it. You remember how school made you feel, which has either positive or negative impacts on your future self. But one of the big things for me as an educator is I'm trying to teach these kids to learn how to learn. So they've got to learn that failure is an option, and
Yeah.
failure happens, and it's how you learn from that and how you get better and better and better. So I mean, like I was saying, so I've done my trade. I went from one of the lowest level maths in year 12, just because I couldn't be asked doing anything, to then go into doing, engineering level trade maths, to all of a sudden they're going, before trigonometry was 3 lines on a board, and then I go into TAFE and into the factory, and all of a sudden those 3 lines will either help me break my back or move something so much easier that you wouldn't even thought. It's just all that context of learning. So it actually means something. and that's where the application comes in.
Yeah, definitely.
So on a day-to-day level, you get a young woman in who wants to learn a trade. What's the process that they go through? Because or even someone who wants a second career, they're coming to see you guys and they go, well, I want to do this. So what's the pathway, or how do they connect first, and then how do you move them through that journey?
Well, for us specifically, like usually our phone conversations or a Teams catch up, unless we're face to face locally at a school with the students, will usually be how we kind of pre-vet. We also have like an automated bit of a weeding process from our website because there's a lot of people who reach out and then they ghost you. It's like dating this day and age. I don't know, we get a little bit bright when it comes to commitment apparently. So we try and set a few rules in place because I do have a very small team as well. So I got to be mindful about, how far we can actually stretch them. But we kind of weed them out a little bit based on that too. And then when we get to the interview stage, we kind of have a bit of a phone chat with them. And the team are very equipped and some of them are quite intuitive to be able to, through a conversation, kind of get a bit of a gauge on someone's interest and are they actually genuinely interested? Because there are some that have no idea what they want to do at all. So then we might provide a bit of career advice and help them understand where their skills and strengths and interests are, because that will help them align to what trade occupation, apart from the main ones that they think about, carpentry, electrical and plumbing, because apparently that's the only three that are out there. So we try and help educate as well, because their environment might play a part in them actually really enjoying a trade, or a really great workplace with right people might shift that mindset too. So that's really it for us. And then ours is very simple process. It's not hard. From there, we've got a vacancy. We will just connect that person with the employer and they go out for a trial. The only way to learn is to get out on site and give it a go with that employer. And if they're happy, then they sign them up.
Yeah.
It's not very complicated for us. We're not a recruitment agency, if that makes sense. And it's not necessarily something that the government really budget us to do. I just know it's a need for our group and our audience, that we've really implemented it as a focus for us within our space, because the females aren't always getting an opportunity. So it's up to us to advocate and find and connect them with the right people to do so, to give them that foot in the door.
Yeah, and I guess if your process is easier, then it's going to make their life easier and make the employer's life easier. So it's not this, okay, you got to fill out form 71-2 and then go fill out this one, and so it's just like, hey, let's have a phone call. Let's have a meeting. Let's see if these guys want to work with you, and let's see if you want to work with them. Because sometimes that's the case as well. They're keen. They want but it's like any job that we've all been in. We've gone in there thinking, yeah, this is the job for me, and all of a sudden, people are involved, and you go, they're not my people. They're not the way I just don't fit here. It's not that I don't want to work, and it's not that they don't want someone to work. It's just that we just don't mesh properly.
Yeah, and that's really important too, because like I said, the reason why I'm so happy at Busy is because I've found my people and I'm very happy here. I'm sure they probably regret it a few times of the day, but we don't need to talk to my manager about that. But, for the most part, this aligns perfectly for me and my values as well. To be able to lead and give back and make a difference in the world, like that's really important as well. Yeah, they do lots of great things. This is not me being paid to say that either. Like that's just genuine.
No, well, I can see it and in your face, and I can hear it in your voice, and the passion that you have for not only where you work with the Busy Group, but also for the young women of the Gold Coast more locally, but Australia, and now, if anyone's been following, England and Canada and New Zealand.
Yeah.
So it seems that your group, the Busy Group, have found an audience and have been able to hone what you do, and that is seen now globally. That hold on, young people are young people, or people who want to work. So it's not just a Gold Coast thing. It's hey, let's see how we can apply it to our particular environment.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So and what an opportunity to help for you, because again, like I said, I'm all about trades, and I've had a number of teenage girls go, I want to do a trade, And it's like, well, what are you doing? What are you going to do about it? It's like, oh, I'm going to be a mechanic, or I'm going to be a welder. Like what? And
They're popular.
this one young girl who wanted to be a welder. She perfect Boilermaker because she was like 3 foot tall, and she'd be able to get.
So
She'd
being
be able.
short
But
is helpful, is it? Because I didn't realize I've got a girl in our team.
oh,
She's a boilie, very switched on, and she's like a perfect fit for this space. The way she just clicks into this role, like she's built for it. Like I was like, you found your purpose, mate. You found your gig. But
because when you're welding, you got to get into some awkward spaces, and if you if you're little, it makes life much easier.
then I'd be terrible. I'm like 5'10.5". So I did
Yeah,
concreting though. I realized my short stint concreting, and I was some pretty daunting behaviours on job sites. And I was lucky that I worked with a female that was a friend of mine. And I remember lifting timber boards off the back of the truck because we worked in residential. So we just do house slabs and driveways. And every single tradesman would, and I don't know if they realise, but they would stop and stare because they're wanting to see a girl lifting the timber boards. It's like something crazy. And it's the worst
yeah,
feeling in the world because when you're that one person everyone's staring at, you can feel like, and I'm an empath, I can feel the energy of everyone just staring at me. So I'm just like, I'm not going to drop this.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you just go, just stop looking at me. I'm just trying to do my
Yeah.
job. I got to get it done. So like
Yeah.
you're throwing me off my rhythm.
Yeah.
So
And I
yeah,
called a bull
it's
float a bullfrog. And, then I got gigged a little bit for that as well. So, yeah.
yeah. Well, that's all right. I mean, we all make mistakes. My first day on the job, I was thrown into the factory, given a block of steel, a engineering square, and pointed to a milling machine and said, "Make it square." And so I walked up and sort of half knew what I was doing, turned the machine on, and then one of the guys just walked over. Like I still remember the look on his face. It was just this look of complete, what have we done? And
Yeah.
then he's just like shaking his head and then just turned the machine so the cutter was spinning the right way. And I'm just like, it's just like, yeah, I didn't live that one down for months. So
I think, and also, I think the women's space, right, it probably just highlights that something needs to shift in the culture and industry. I don't even think it's just a women's thing. I think we just call out bad behavior more than men do, if I'm being honest. So, but even like just normal employers forget that an apprentice is so green and they assume that they get annoyed that they don't know how to do certain things. Yeah, well, they're green. I think you forget that there's a big gap in your experience and this individual. So I can see like the women coming in. I think that'll have at some stage a positive effect on educating employers to be more understanding and empathetic as well. So increasing that emotional intelligence is really important in industry, especially within construction, is probably, one of the more problematic areas, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
yeah, the construction industry is, I mean, yeah, your stereotypical, wolf whistle from the guys hanging off the scaffolding. It's just like it's always been that place
Yeah.
where supposedly that behavior is acceptable. And for as long as I can remember, it's never been acceptable by the general public. But it's just, you're on the other side of the scaffolding and apparently everything's okay. So, but thankfully, that is now shifting daily. And we're seeing it by having more women in trades, on job sites, moving into leadership positions, running their own small businesses, and some of them just running rings around all these blokes who think they are better, but not so much.
Well, it's actually funny because it's like the world's realizing stop stereotyping genders in particular roles, because there's also like a shift in my son's after school care had a lot more males coming through. My son loved it. I'm a single full-time parent, so having young guys to hang out with at after school care was like the best thing in the world for him because they were more fun. So, the world's changing, and I think I even see I got a Crohn's disease and I go to hospital a lot sometimes. So I even see a shift in male nurses stepping in, and all different types of males, some very big macho male muscly looking men that come in, so not your stereotypical kind of male that might be in there. So I think things are shifting, and it's my son wears, I won't say that loud, he might hear me, but he even wears pink and it's like his favorite color, and that's normal for them. So I was like, once upon a time that wasn't normal, but it is now. So yeah, I think the
Yeah,
world's
yeah.
changing.
Yeah, the only time pink was normal was back in the 80s, and when Miami Vice were wearing it, so it was okay for everyone else. That was the last time I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
And it's
so good
normal.
that those the shifts are happening and people are allowed to be who they are.
Yeah.
And as long as they're not sort of, you're not bagging someone out for being them, and they're not bagging out for you being you, but you're actually going, you know what, I'm here to do my job. I'm here to, whether it's at school, I'm here to learn, I'm here to do this. I'm on the job site, I'm here to do this. Let's just look at that meritocracy and get on with it.
Yeah, and I worked in the bricklaying industry, and I remember recruiting for that. And it's a pretty hard yakka industry to recruit for, because you need a lot of grit and resilience to withstand the role. And I look back and I'm like, there was some blokes that were like 6'5", built like a brick, going out on site. And I remember the boss ringing me. This was when I was first started recruiting, and I was trying to feel my way to find out what was good, what was not. And he would ring me going, Tenille, it's Smoko, and he never came back. And I was like, all right. He goes, I was hopeful because he was, really big and muscly, and I thought he'd be all right. And then you'd throw this young little whippet out that was just tiny, but they had mental grit and resilience. They showed up every single day, and the employer was like, oh, this kid's a weapon. They're great. They show up. And I realized then and there, grit and resilience was actually the key characteristic which made someone successful within those industries, and even in trades, whether you were male or female, whether you were white, black, whether you were Indian, Australian, whatever. It didn't matter about that. It was a mental, that was a mindset, and that was a characteristic that each individual human being had. So I think it was really cool to even change their perception and mindset of who we put out. And that's why we were able to start increasing female representation, because you find the right people, as long as the employer was decent and wouldn't flog them like a horse and make an example of them, we really were able to shift some mindset as well, and that helped us increase apprentice numbers in an industry that was struggling as well. So, stop going for the same person. No wonder why you can't get anywhere and they're not working, you've got to look outside the box a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. And I love that you also speak from experience and authority in that. So you're just, and I guess, your clients that you work with, you can actually, that carries weight and that carries value, because they can go, well, right, geez, Tenille actually knows what she's talking about, so we better listen.
Well, they would come back. If I got them someone good and they would last, and I would listen and understand them as an employer in their business and what they did, I would get to know who they are and how they operated, the size of the business, all that kind of stuff really mattered, for me to find them the right person. I knew that I had to take a lot of pride and integrity in who I put out with them. I would be very strict with how long, because the industry would be like, trial them for 6 months. And I'm like, no, that's not on. You trial them for a week out on site, and then we make a decision. But what it did was, it eventually, once they could see I started getting quality, because that was a barrier for them. They couldn't get the right people. Then they would come back, and then they have respect, and then they'll always, come back to you and listen, and then you can get them on the journey of change as well. So that was really, really important. So, but trust is important too. They've got to trust you.
Yeah. It's great to hear everything that you're saying, because it's so much of the stuff that we, in especially in an educational space, we're trying to instill that and get the kids to understand this is what is needed, like integrity, speaking the truth, being honest, being open, being respectful. Like, don't talk down to someone just because they're different. Just because someone has one trait over another doesn't mean they're still a person. So, and it's great that that's what you are doing, and it's branching out into the community and bettering our community as well.
You want to reinstill faith. And I think for most of them, if they struggle to get the right people, they start to lose faith themselves in apprenticeships, and it can actually, employers get turned off, and they're like, why would I bother? I'm churning, I'm burning, I can't get the right people, they don't stay. Then they lose hope as well. So I think if you can start to, and this is why we also make sure we've got proactive support in place, not only for the individual, but for the employer, because I don't want them to lose hope and faith in the apprenticeship system. There's good people out there. We can help you find and source the right people to match you in your organization. It may not be their skill set. They may not be great. They might be a great tradie and a great business owner with math and all that kind of jazz in the background, but they may not be great with people. Doesn't mean that people is a skill set. Like, that's something not everyone has. So if we can be that conduit to help educate them on finding the right people for their business and understanding what their business needs are, like, I get a real kicker out of helping a business grow. And if I can see that employer has really great potential and great morals, and I think they're there for the right reasons, I would 110% invest my time into helping their business grow with the right people. Like, they're the sort of businesses I want to see succeeding because they're there for the right reasons. And I'm like, yeah, make all the money in the world, get rich because you're doing it for the right reasons. And I think that's really great. So there's a lot of good people out there too. And I think that's, really refreshing to see.
Yeah, that's what we need to hear. Now, Tenille, we could go on for ages, I think, because we're both trade backgrounds, and we've got a passion for young people, and we want to, and for the trades and success in our local communities. But we've been chatting, believe it or not, almost an hour now. So
Yeah.
it's great, and I love when good conversations happen because they just naturally you want to stay with it. But I just want to wrap up now with just a few questions, just to finish up this great conversation. And the first one being is like, what would be a challenge that you'd put out there to people who are listening, especially educators? Like, what would you want educators to really hear to try and impact the young people that they deal with each day?
Get to know the individual. Maybe ask a few more questions, delve a little deeper and find out a little bit more about that person. Don't make an assumption and stop basing someone's attributes and potential on grades, because I am like a big believer that does not determine someone's potential whatsoever. And clearly you have not done the work to understand that person and find out where their skill sets are. Every human being on the face of this earth has something different that they bring to the table. And that's why we're all so unique. And I think that's why empowering people to be authentic is really important, because we all bring something different. And that's what's great. I don't know, I'll get lost in transit on that one, but get to know the individual before you make an assumption. So, and then you might actually find out a few more things about that person that might steer them down and help them find their purpose. Because once they found their purpose, man, your job is done. Like, they will just thrive. They'll be self-motivated, self-propelled, and they won't feel like they're working a day in their life. And everyone has a purpose on this earth. It's just that's their job. That's and if they're not doing that, I'd question, are you here for the right reasons? Or are you just here because you wanted a gig that you wanted something during school hours? So even teachers should be there for the right reasons too. I think that's why we should really steer people down the right pathway.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more. Now we reached out through our connection through Busy and through LinkedIn. But if someone wants to find out more about the women in trades work that you do, or to reach out to just find out more, they've got a daughter, or they've got a sister or an aunt who's just like, I'm at a fork in the road. How would they best contact you or your team?
So we've got multiple platforms on our website. So you can either Google Busy Sisters and have a look at their busysisters.com.au. There'll be a contact us page. There's even on Busy at Work. So I'm sure if you Google Busy at Work, I think it's .com.au, don't quote me on that. There'll be a women in trade section where you can actually have a contact us form and reach out. Otherwise, our direct email is info@busysisters.com.au, and that will reach directly out to our team, and we will action that within 48 hours to make sure that they have a response and we can touch base for a phone chat. So yeah.
All right, I'll throw all those in the show notes for people who are listening.
Okay.
So that'll make things a little bit easier. And now my final question, and it wouldn't be the Tattoo Teacher podcast if I didn't ask you to know, do you have any tattoos?
I actually do. And do you know what? This literally reflects my youth without saying. How do you know you're a wayward youth without saying it? You had home job tattoos. One. And I have one on my hip, believe it or not. And I thought when I was 17, and just before I turned 18, I was like, oh, this is so cool. I'll get the Southern Cross. I don't know why, but back then apparently the Southern Cross was apparently like the stars was really cool. It is not. And I even said, I don't want the traditional stars. I just want to do normal ones. So I don't know where my head was at, if I'm being honest. And they're the only two tattoos that I have. Terrible tattoos. And they're what I've got. And to be honest, I'm like, you know what? Ride or die, they're just going to have to stay here with me for the rest of my life because they're part of my journey.
Absolutely.
They're quite embarrassing, so I don't like to show them off all the time.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. I've made some choices, and I'm glad I didn't get certain tattoos when I was about to. So
yours probably have a lot more meaning than what I did. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm glad I didn't get them when I was 16, 17 or 18. So because they'd be a little bit different to what I'm sporting today. But Tenille, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everything that you're doing for women in trades, for the young people coming through, for giving them a voice and a platform to move to their next level of success in industry, in small business, in big business for some of them, probably after they get some years under their belts for sure.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me. I really appreciated the chat. So thank you.
No worries. Have a wonderful evening.
You too. Thanks, Phil.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Tattoo Teacher podcast. I hope you enjoyed the conversation and found it insightful. If you like what you heard, it would mean so much to me if you could either like, follow, and subscribe to whatever platform you are listening on. The music was by DJ Fruit Salad. Thanks again for listening. Stay cool. Be blessed.